Hi guys, this is our final video of our video course, and I think it's the most important and most interesting one, because now we will try to implement asynchronous operations in Vtiger. What does it mean? Imagine a situation when you save something in Vtiger. For example, you create, I don't know, potential in Vtiger, and saving process runs different workflows and different events. If you run all this operation asynchronously, it can be very expensive for not only for your server but also for users, because users have to wait when you must create something. I don't know, when you calculate potential amount, or when you create payments for your potentials. And yeah, users have to wait, and your server runs all this operation synchronously. If your occurs, your save process can be failed. And now we know how to connect Vtiger to RabbitMQ. Now we know how to connect our Vtiger to third-party applications and vice versa. And now we will try to do something interesting. When you save potential or any other record, users will be notified that everything is okay, and then all events will be sent to RabbitMQ, and our server will process them asynchronously in another process, and it will be independent process, and we will run all events as in the same, using the same thing as in Laravel or Symfony. So let's code with me. Let's implement this very interesting scenario, and yeah, let's do our Vtiger asynchronous.
So in this part we will make our Vtiger asynchronous. So what does it mean? Imagine the situation when you when you in Vtiger create, for example, potential, right? And after creating potential, you run some opportunities. Or when you save opportunity or potential, you run some workflows where you calculate something, make an API request, make payments, or must create invoices, and all this workflow run one by one, and process of creation of opportunity becomes very slow and very risky and buggy. When in one of workflow something happens, everything goes down, right? And you see error while saving or creating opportunity and so on. So to make all these things faster and efficient, we can use Rabbit and run all these background tasks in background, not synchronously. So yes, we can using RabbitMQ, we can make our Vtiger asynchronous. So how can we do it? Let's imagine a scenario when we have, for example, project, and for example, when we create project with specific type, I don't know, for example, when we create project with type of administrative, we want to create some template tasks in project, right? For example, we have a database, or we make an API call, we receive template tasks and create, for example, 10 or 15 project tasks. We don't know, if we'll work with default Vtiger, we will create workflow, when project created, then we run our custom function, right? And process will take a little bit slower when we create project, because for example, we want to make SQL query from specific table, take template tasks, and must create function for example, 10 or 15 project tasks. It's too slow, and we don't want user to wait. So let's start diving deeper. What we need to do for starting, we need to install this package brick event to manage our asynchronous events. I'll show you later how does it work, but first just install this package in your Vtiger. So, and let's start. First thing we need to do, we need to store somewhere our events. So I prefer some specific configurations store in config folder. So that's why let's create folder config. And let's create file RabbitPHP. And as default configuration, let's return array with our configuration. And for now, this just will be. So if you want to understand what's happening, you need to know how EventListeners works. And so how does it work? So first of all, we create listeners. It's specific classes which will listen events. Now we fire these events in RabbitMQ, and RabbitMQ call all listeners which we created before. So here we create listeners, and so first of all, which we need to do, it's create something in RabbitMQ, right? When our contact is created, we need to create something in our queue. For this purpose, we'll create a queue with the name vt_internal, and we'll store all messages which we'll need for our Vtiger only in this queue. And how we will create messages? Yeah, you're right. Regularly with a regular custom function, right? So let's create custom function in our case in project workflow. Let's create folder workflow, and let's create file project created event. Here we will need to import all our dependencies as regularly, and declare a function project created event with VS entity. That's the same thing we did before. Okay, and now just copy paste the same thing from our previous workflow. Just copy paste, nothing so on, just get CRM ID and that's all. If it's null, then return with nothing. And now let's now we need to send something to our Rabbit, right? So, and to not copy paste everything one by one as we did before, it's just to follow don't repeat yourself principles. Yes, we did it before. You see, right? We need notifications and so on. It's just copy paste. It becomes messy. So that's why let's create special service for these purposes. Let's create event creator service in our Vtiger folder. Let's go to Vtiger. Yeah, and so don't forget to register this function. So and just register it when our model is enabled. Now let's find our events where it's yeah, this one, and put it right here. Yeah, first of all we need to declare our entity method, right? Let's put it somewhere right here. Declare entity method manager, and we need to create event when module is disabled. We need to remove this event, and we need to add entity method when module is enabled. And of course we need to import our dependency through require once. Okay, and now when we disable and enable our module, it's not working because we didn't import EDB. So let's do it again. Enable, disable, it's working, and let's check it. Create tasks when project created. We will create template tasks, and it will work on module project, only on creation, and we will run custom function. Save it. It's okay. So let's create our service, right? Let's go to our Vtiger services folder and create Vtiger event creator service class. File name will be event creator, extends nothing, and that's all. And yeah, of course, the same thing, we will need to copy paste and import our dependencies. What we will need for our project creator service. So first thing, we need event name, right? What type of event we run, module name, ID of current record, and array of additional data if we need. But in our project creator event, I don't think we need additional data. We need just module name and ID of record. And our asynchronous task will do all things by themselves. So let's generate constructor and pass all this data to constructor. And let's initialize all properties. Yeah, we import our global variable, pass event name, module ID, and data. And we create a special connection, the same thing as we did before. And now let's create a main function which will run. So, but now let's import our event creator, create our generator model here. We create model, just make an instance of our new service. We'll pass here our event name. It's project created. So we tell we save in Rabbit our event name. We pass model name. It's project, and pass our CRM ID and empty array of additional data. We don't need them. We only pass CRM ID, and then our listeners will get this CRM ID, get record model and create project tasks. So nothing fancy here. Now we need to create something main function. Let's call it I don't know, generate maybe. Generate, and it returns bool. So first steps is actually the same thing. We can just copy paste. It's nothing fancy. Just take code which we wrote before and paste it here. We create a channel. We create initialize events, initialize shutdown, create data with the same thing, but we pass event name, ID, module name, and array of data, which we passed in our constructor. Now we create a message and pass it to our RabbitMQ to internal events. Internal events is with the internal, it's our queue. And that's all. It's very easy, and I think it should work. Hopefully. And run generate function. Generate model, generate. And now it's then when you will create another workflow function, you just actually we don't need these dependencies anymore. When you will create a new function, you just call this service with method generate and pass to service all unnecessary data. I mean event name, module name, ID, and data. So with this approach, you can create as many workflows as you want. So run generate model and let's create new. Let's stop all our workers and create new project. Let's go to our project, create one, test one. Let's fill out with input data, test, description, save, and I think everything was okay. Let's check it. Yeah, one queue, one message. Yeah, we got ID, we got model. Yeah, everything was great. Now our next step, we need to listen this data, right? And now what should we do? We need to create a class, and I think it should be model. And this class should create project tasks. So let's create it. Let's go to our project folder, models, and let's create task generator class. Yeah, we created, and the same thing as we did before. We'll use the same approach. We will include our services function. And what should we accept here? I think we should accept module, ID, and array of data. Yes, the same thing which we did before. And we will accept them in constructor. And yeah, just initialize properties here. And now we need to create project tasks, but we will not get this data from API. We just create static information here for just demo purposes. But of course, you will need to initialize them in constructor and receive from API or make an SQL query and so on. Just create this regular static data. And now It's will be standalone class, so let's write our invoke function and what we will do here. So first of all, we need to initialize our log variable. And the same thing that we did before, we need to get web service ID and initialize our current user variable. Go from this project tasks and create one by one. So just very simple, just take every record from array, fill out our mandatory values, assigned user ID and project ID. So we attach the same thing, project task, to our web service ID and just create project task. That's all. So our generator is ready, and this is listener. And now we need to register this listener in our config file. So we have listeners, and we have first event. We call it project created, and we pass this event to here, right? And register listeners. So we can create as many listeners as you want. And for now, we have only one of them. Project. Let's copy paste. Project task generator model. Yeah, now we are done, and now just we need to run it in our run Rabbit, right? It was very easy. Let's open our run Rabbit. What should we do here? Okay, now first of all, we need to register our listeners. For this purpose, just let's write small function here. We need to run Rabbit events. We need to accept event dispatcher. Right? Event dispatcher, it's our new extension here. And how this dispatcher works, we pass dispatcher through this function and register our listeners. We import our config here, take all our listeners, pass them one by one, and add this listener to our array. And we tell our configuration that we need to instantiate this class here and run invoke method. So in every class, every listener should have invoke method, right? And return boolean here. Now we need to register this listeners. We need to run this function. Let's do it. So let's do it right here. So first thing first, we need to create our dispatcher and run this function, and we will get back our dispatcher. And now we need to run the same thing again, but for our internal library, for our internal method. So just the same thing, just copy paste, and we call our internal events, and we need to pass another tag. So let's create it. Not consumer, but now we use internal. And what we do here, the same thing actually, nothing fancy, but instead of call manually our classes, we dispatch event. So we receive event from RabbitMQ and dispatch them through our listeners. And listeners will call all these callbacks and run our invoke methods. So I think it should be done. Now let's test it. again run our RabbitPHP. I think we should put echo, right? I don't like when there's no notifications. They'll put the same thing. Event called and event. I think our worker should, yeah, it works. So let's create again second one. Stopped RabbitMQ for now. Test 2. I don't know, something random here. Now you see project saved instantly without nothing. But now when worker will run these events, yeah, event called ProjectCreator, let's check our project tasks. It's right there. So did you see all work was done asynchronously. So asynchronous work, it's very cool, it's very fast, efficient, and secure. So I think that's all for this video. I will attach all my code to GitHub. See in description in the video, and please put likes, write comments, and if this video will be popular, I will create another video about advanced usage our messages in advance. So thank you, bye.